So let's go to we have a little playoff music. Let's go to the AFC. As of now, the number one team, Kansas City, would have a bye in the first round. So the 7-seeded Dolphins would travel to Pittsburgh to face the 2nd-seeded Steelers. I'd take Miami this morning. I think they're a better football team. I think they're tighter. They're not turning it over. They can run it and throw it, and their receivers can catch the ball. I'm going to take Miami for the upset at Pittsburgh. I would take the Bills to beat the Colts. It'll be snowy, windy, and cold. And I just think they have more playmakers offensively and an athletic quarterback in Josh Allen against the league's least athletic quarterback. Titans-Browns, I'm going to take Cleveland again. I said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say it again. I think it is a great matchup for the Browns. They don't have a pass rush. That means Baker Mayfield is comfortable. That means Baker Mayfield can play with a lead. Kevin Stefanski and the staff keep it, the bumper car rule, keep it in the middle here. The bowling alley when you're a little kid, keep it in the middle. You don't have to go outside and make plays that don't exist. I think Cleveland beats the Titans. I think it's one of the Titans' worst matchups in the AFC is Cleveland. Next round, Kansas City rested, now host the Dolphins. Miami's still a year away. It's baby steps. This is a Kansas City win, and convincingly. Browns-Bills, this is not a great matchup for Cleveland. They're going to have to get into a shootout because their back seven in Cleveland is not good, and Buffalo's got all sorts of weapons and the strongest arm quarterback in the league. Don't like this matchup for Cleveland. I like Buffalo convincingly. Cleveland should pray for bad weather, so both offenses struggle, but I take the Bills. Then we go into the AFC Championship game. Chiefs, the 1 seed, Bills, the 3 seed. I like Buffalo today, a better team that's better in the red zone, playing better defense, very healthy, on a roll with momentum, fewer penalties last 3 weeks. Buffalo upsets, it's not much of an upset, upsets the Chiefs, probably about a 3.5 point spread. Buffalo's in the Super Bowl. Let's go to the NFC. Cardinals at the Saints. Obviously, Green Bay has a bye. This is a bad matchup for Arizona. Saints win the game convincingly. Rams also at home, already beaten the Buccaneers once. I think their defensive line pressures Tom Brady. Goff is more comfortable. Rams beat the Buccaneers convincingly. Seahawks at Washington, second time they've met in a month. I'll take Seattle as long as their running backs are healthy. Second round in the NFC looks like this. Green Bay now off a bye and rested and healthy against the Seahawks. I like Seattle. If Chris Carson, Penny, Homer, and DJ Dallas and are healthy, I think they're a bad matchup for Green Bay. This is not a team. Also, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf. They're both going to have their way in that game. I like Seattle against Green Bay. Like I like the Colts against Green Bay. It's a bad matchup. Rams-Saints is a complete coin flip. This is the one team in the NFC that matches up with the Saints. I'm going to go New Orleans in overtime. Check back with me in 3 weeks on the health of both teams. Then we get to the NFC Championship, Seattle at the Saints. I'm going to take, again, this is really close. I'm going to take the Saints now that Drew Brees is probably not going to play like a Clayton Kershaw, a LeBron, or a Drew Brees last year, or a Peyton Manning in Denver. He comes in fresh and rested. The rest of the league has to go way back to look at Saints film because they've been running Taysom Hill's offense for the previous 5-6 weeks. I'll take the Saints close in this game. My Super Bowl, Bills and Saints, and I'm not predicting that until I see it. So, by the way, I'd been on Kansas City and Seattle in my 2 previous predictions. This morning, I'm Bills and Saints.
I had Saints-Ravens at the beginning of the year.
All right.
Obviously, Ravens not looking so hot. But
that's the one team I think is going to get in. Just keep your eye on the Ravens. Streaming service coming now next year called Discovery Plus, U.S. only. They've got your favorite brands like the Food Network and HGTV and exclusive originals. NFL Meat Sandwich, Greg Cosell, next. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I won it that year. Joy and I were looking at each other as it was airing, and we were kind of rolling our eyes. I have a feeling Ryan Russillo, the ringer, he's got a great podcast now, joining me live, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Let me guess you're going to defend Aaron Rodgers, because you guys are both cool, but good Lord, he was a little LeBron-esque, was he not? A little?
All right, but see, he's on fire this year, and you've been anti this guy for like 2 decades, so you can't help yourself. So, I mean, Rodgers, even to the point when we were all back in the day doing radio shows across the hall from each other, I think Rodgers even reached out to Van Pelt, was like, what's with that guy? Why doesn't he like me? So I think he's in a no-win situation. Yes, these guys, I think coy is the right word, but if Rodgers says, I don't care about MVPs, it's not important to me, then he's not telling the truth either. So a lot of this is just you can't really win, and winning a third one, considering only a handful of guys have ever done it, I thought it was, look, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Look, he hasn't been good for 2 years. You were feeling great about shorting Aaron Rodgers for like 15 years, which you would have lost money on it because you were on it so early. And then he's come back and maybe he wins it again. But I still think the Mahomes stuff. By the way, can we jump to what you said before? Because I was losing it over here.
Okay.
I mean, whether we went History Channel, Normandy, analytics, 2-star recruits. I agree with you on the Heisman quarterback theory, but sometimes things happen and it actually doesn't mean anything. The MVP run is an incredibly interesting stat, and then you turn it into a segment, and I'm afraid I might not get invited back here. But think about how close it was. Mahomes, if there's not an offsides, that's an MVP win in a Super Bowl year, all right? So they would have won the Super Bowl. Brady's shootout with Philly, he wins an MVP that year. He was unbelievable in the Super Bowl. The defense was terrible. He also has the 2010 MVP, the 2007 where Brady was undefeated, and if it's not for David Tyree, then an MVP wins a Super Bowl. So I think it's something that happens, but it doesn't mean that from now on you go, you know what I really want? I want a quarterback that's just kind of like right at number 6, number 7. That's what I'm looking for.
Listen, I like the pushback. I'm always fond of the pushback. That's why I bring you on the show to push back, because I'm almost never wrong, but occasionally it happens. Okay.
Maybe, yes,
okay.
Maybe.
So people think sometimes we do stuff for clicks, but we both know each other, and I've been on this for like 4 weeks. I watch Pittsburgh play. They can't throw deep. They can't run the ball. They can't catch the ball. I look at them and I'm like, I don't care about their record. I don't care. That is not a Super Bowl team. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I think you're dismissive. I mean, if I have to sit here and tell you you're wrong and then pick the Steelers to win the Super Bowl, I'm not going to do that because I'm just going to pick anybody against the Chiefs. I'm just not going to. But Pittsburgh's defense, any category you want to look at, you can go traditional stuff, you can go advanced metrics, anything you want to look at is like at worst the third or fourth defense in the league. And it's been that way all year long, even with some of the losses in that front seven. And the reason why they've still been able to be pretty good defensively is that front has been so impressive from just a depth standpoint. Now, that Bills game was ugly. I don't know what to tell you. Joy's absolutely right. They're not a physical team. They struggle to run the football. They've had some decisions in short yardage scenarios where you're like, okay, who are you right now? But they found a way with this incredible receiving core to let Ben approach the game differently by not taking deep shots, and they've been able to move it. Look, the loss to Washington is an incredibly underrated defensive team. Yeah. I was dismissive. I was like, you're losing all these games. So they've ripped off a few. So they hit them at the right time. That defense is really good. And Buffalo, whose defense actually is a lot worse this year than it was last year. Maybe it's getting better. I just thought that was the kind of game we watched it together. Buffalo was clearly the better football team, but I'm not just